Hey class, here we go again. Something kind of new. We're going to do the main floor framing. So we finished up the foundation, and so that is where I'm currently at is, well, I should tell you where I'm currently at. If I'm looking at the footing and foundation plan in the structural areas of the plans, it's going to look like this. We have our footings shown as hidden lines, and they are kind of a little graphic glitch there, it looks like. But they go around and show things that are below our point of view. We place footings underneath the bearing wall here. We did not take care of the stairwell very well, and so we're going to probably should come back and take care of that real quickly. To do that, I need to kind of know where that stair is. So I'm going to go scroll down here to our underlay and put on the upper level floor line, or the main level floor line, excuse me, so we can see that. And our stairwell is the wrong view. Let's see, main level floor line. Yeah, our stairs in this area here. So what we've got right here is the second floor. I need to figure out why we're seeing that one. That's kind of a odd thing to show there. Let me just hide that. Okay. And so this is the area where our stairwell is, that we place our stairs. So if we go back to the main floor, we can kind of get a view for that we're in this area here. And so that's what we're looking at is we need to bring these stair walls down so they're also on the basement level. So there'll be structural walls. So we're just going to do those with 2x4 framing. So it's a wall, basic wall here, and we're just going to trace over them. So I'm going to grab onto the wall here, make sure I'm got my settings right. I need to be on the basement floor, so basement floor line. It's going to go up to the top of foundation, so not a double top plate in this case. And then I'm just going to grab on to the corner here, and I'm not seeing it. That is not good. I should be able to see that wall. Let's go to the basement level and see if we can fix that. So on the basement level, we do have the walls there, so we just need to put footings in it. I did put, let's put footings in them. So I'm going to go into the structural system. Sorry, a little been a day or so. I'm going to go to my wall footings, my wall foundations. I'm going to switch the size to our 18 by 10 that we're using. And I just need to select these walls. There, 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 and there. Now, the footings always go at the bottom, so they should now show in the foundation plan. And they're sitting right there. I do need to, there's a couple things you can do here. They can continue all the way across, and so it goes all the way here to the outside and goes into that manner. That's totally fine on there. There's a little gap here where the doorways are. That probably shouldn't be the case. So if you did a corner, so we can corner those up. Maybe have to go do a little work here in 3D on that and see if we can get that to cooperate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the house upside down and go bottoms up with it. And hopefully, let's get that centered. See if we can get these foundation walls to cooperate a little bit. I want them to join if I can. And it looks like I might have to just take the node and stretch that over. So I'm just going to grab that blue dot and that little node and stretch it to the other one so they can join them. Now, or you can remove and just do a spot one here. But what that does, it requires some more precision layout. And usually I just do it here and just straighten the whole thing up. It just seems to work. But I do like to have the footing go underneath all the way and have them join. So let's see if we can get that to do one more join there. There we go. And finish that out. And then we'll just come back up here in the corner, find our little view house right there, and go back to home and reorient the view. Then we'll come back to the footing foundation plan, and these are where they're supposed to be. Now I'm just going to check the section here and make sure they're in the right level. So again, I verify everything. I don't trust much of anything at all usually. And so here is that footing, and it looks like it might be kind of in the wrong area because my walls still are not showing the way I'd like them to. So let me go back to our basement plan. And I'm going to take this section here and see what's going on in that view. And this is kind of the nice thing about having views. So, yeah, it looks like it's a little high up on that footing, which is not the ideal. So we're going to do an offset if I can. And I might have to do a little tweaking with this. I might have to come back and look at this a little bit more, but they're there. The problem is they're up 4 inches higher than they should be. And so I need to extend a wall down in order to get them in the right place. And that's going to be the next level thing to do here. So I'm going to take this section here, and I'm going to rotate it around. So I'm just going to use the rotate command. It's a little easier to control it. And bring it 90 degrees. And we'll go to that view now. Maybe if we didn't pick the stair, it would be a good idea. Go to the view. And look for my basement floor here. I'm going to expand this view out because I didn't really do that before I went in. All right, so here's the deal. The wall is on top of the footing. So in order to get the footings in the right spot, I need to do a base offset of a negative 4 inches. So we're going to do 4 and a minus on that, apply that. And that's going to put it in the right spot. Now when I do that, look at what it does to my footing foundation plan. It puts it into that hidden line mode that I want it to have there. Okay, so now I know them to take this wall, and that is not the right wall. I've got to somehow get my walls to do what they're supposed to here. So this wall is a negative 4, and I'm just going to match that property here to the others. There, there, there. And then check the footing and foundation, and everything's coming in hidden line the way it needs to be. Okay, so you do have to do a little bit of working there to get things exactly where you want them. I'm going to close a few of these tabs because I've exceeded the allotment that I like. Once I can't see them all, I get a little nervous about it. So this is our foundation plan. It's now fixed and corrected, so we'll put that one to bed. And that leaves us here with the basement level floor line. That one can go. We're done working on that. And we want to be on the main level floor framing plan. So we kind of bounced around a little bit there. But we can see now where our bearing supports are, because we can see the footings that are showing. We can see the walls that could be bearing walls, which is important. And now I can go about laying out the framing for the floor above. So you're always working above your head when you do framing plans. Now, because it's structural, we then want to go in and first do some measurements. Now, the rule is 18 feet is kind of a good limit for your span, is not to exceed 18 feet. There's a few cases where you can go up to 22, but it's much more expensive to do that. So 18 keeps you in a really modest price range, and that's really what we're looking for. And it'll get you with a standard spacing of 60 inches on center for just about anything we need to do with an 11/7/8 TGI, which is usually our design intent is to do that. So I'm going to do a quick measurement here and find out where I'm at. If I go from this wall to this wall, that's 31. That's then requires steel and very, very expensive. So that one's not going to happen. If I go from side to side, well, that one is 18. 18'5". That one I can make work. But if I go the other direction, because you really want to be less than 18 if you can. If I go this direction at 14, and then another 15 to get to the 30, 16 to get to the 31, that's going to be my best case scenario, is to run it that direction. Down here, we'll worry about that when we get to that one. So I'm going to take care of this portion first. We're going to go to the structural tab. We're going to go to beams because we're going to need some beams. And again, refer to the charts that we looked at. Let me go ahead and reopen those. Okay, so we're back here. This is the Weyerhaeuser truss joist span charts. We're going to go down to sheet 6 to start with. And you want to keep a copy of this. So sheet 6 here gives us the dimensions of each of the different price series that you can purchase. They range from 9.5 inches to 16 inches. You can custom order 24-inch depth TGIs. They're very pricey, but your house is very, very solid at that point. And what you're looking at here is the thickness of the parts. So this little part in the middle, that's the web. It's almost always 3/8 of an inch, and it's usually out of particle board. Nope, it's not particle board. So sorry. It's OSB board, oriented strand board. Particle board would be a very bad thing to do there. Particle board, when it gets wet, kind of dissolves. It's just glue and sawdust. So it's OSB board or oriented strand board that we use there. And then your various heights. And then the other part that changes a lot is here on the flange. So you got a top flange and bottom flange. The dimensions on those do change depending on what depth you're using to give the better strength to it. Now, for almost every house is going to use 11/7/8 if it's around 3,000 square feet. So that's going to be your common size there that you're looking for. So once we get done with our sizes and pick it out, we go to sheet 7. We have our live load and dead load. The minimum here is what is the code requirement. If you designed the code requirement, then that means you got extra built into this design of this truss and the joist to make it last longer. And you'll hear me use truss and joist a little back and forth on these. There are floor trusses and there are floor joists. A truss is open webbed, meaning has a lot more holes through there like a truss would have. So we're going to try, and I go with the larger dead load so people can put more weight on their floor. And I need to go 18 feet. Well, if I'm going 16 inches on center here, and I'm using 11/7/8, I can, at a 210 option, I can span 19.4. And that's really what I want to shoot for, is to go 16 inches on center, 19.4, and design it for that route. That's going to give me my strongest floor and make things work. So there's my sizing. 16 inches on center, 19.4 is my span, and I need a series 210 with an 11/7/8. All right, let's go back to the other sheet again. To our plan. So I'm going to put a beam in now. So the beam I'm going to use a laminated veneer lumber, and I'm going to go with a 5 and then go with the 3. I'm going to go with this, the 2x4. So my 2x4 wall is 3.5 inches. If I go with the lamb beam, I'm going to probably have to make a new one, it looks like. So let's start with the 1 3/4 inch. I'm going to go edit type. I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to take off the 2 because I don't want the notes copy. I'm going to change it to a 3.5 inch beam, so it matches my wall thickness where my studs are with interior studs. So I'll match that thickness. I hit OK. And there, I'm going to come down here and do the same thing here. Change the size, 3.5, and apply that and hit OK. Now that beam is going to support my lines this direction. So remember, my span going this direction is 18, but my span going the other direction is shorter. So my beam I'm going to put in here, that I just created, is going to run down here a little closer from the top of this bearing point here. It's going to go across to the opposite foundation wall, and it's going to sit on that foundation wall. Now, I'm not seeing it because I kind of moved my hand around a little bit, so this member is not at the right height. I need to do a couple things. I need to, one, drop it down the thickness of my subfloor, because it's sitting on the main level floor line, and I can't change that. That's its default. So I need to put it below the plywood floor deck. And so that floor deck we're using is 3/4 of an inch. So I need to drop it down a negative 0.75 inches. So I put that value in, and getting the negative can be a little tricky some days. And once I get one set, I'm going to copy that, Control C, Control V, and put that in so that it's a level across there. And I really want that thing to stretch the whole way. So we're going to put that all the way over. And now that beam sits there. I'm going to go a little bit more with that. So it sits on the wall. Like so. Okay, so now I've got a beam there. I'll have the same beam over here. And I'm just going to use a copy because I don't want to go through all the settings again. So if I copy it, finish that, grab that, and just go straight across, I can place it a little bit quicker than rebuilding it and checking the depths. But look, in moving it, it shifted. It's 10 feet down. It's at a slope. So I'm just going to highlight that and Control V and put it back in level. Watch that in these structural things because it does get out of level really quite easily. All right, so now I know where my framing is going. I'm going to switch back to structural, back into beams. And I'm going to switch now to the plywood web joists, the 1 3/4 by 11 7/8. And those are going to run every 16 inches. So here's my foundation wall. As long as I am not further than 16 inches from it, I can start that joist on the horizontal version and bring that down to my beam. So it comes to the beam. And then I go back and I'm going to modify that just like I did the beam. So I've got to drop it 3/4 of an inch. Like so. And then do offsets. So this then go into my modify, offset, change the value to 16 inches or 1'4". Make sure you have copy on, and then just start marching your little floor joists all the way across the space. And we do the entire space. We show it all because we may change the size in some parts of the floor from what it is in the rest of the floor. So all the way over. And as long as it's less than 16 inches before the foundation, you're good. So we put that in place. And I'm going to do a copy. And I'm going to, well, copies are kind of tricky. I'm going to window all those floor joists. And let's see, I need to remove. Shift key, remove the footing. I don't want that. And I'm going to copy it from the end of the footing all the way to the end of the footing. And that will place. Now I do need to shift those over a little bit, so I'm going to arrow that over just so they show. And that makes it really easy to place in both areas. Now coming down here, it's kind of showing a little funny. It doesn't show that way. I'm also going to check my with a section. So I'm going to do a view, section cut. And I'm just going to run a section right through here and take a look at it and go to view. So notice I don't delete them very often. So here is my framing, my floor joists. And it's just like they're floating. But if you put the detail view onto fine, you'll now see that we're below the subfloor. If I put some color to it, it's a little easier for you to see. So there's the plywood, and the floor joists sit right underneath that. Really important you get those placed right, or they show coming up through your carpeting. Okay, so we'll go back here now. So I'm pretty good with that. I'm happy with it. So we'll go back to our structural, back to our beam, and we're ready to put the other ones in. So they come down, let's start the beam this time. And I don't want to be lined up directly because it gets confusing. So this then go to the side a little bit, 1 or 2 inches, and bring that all the way down to the bearing wall center below. Then I'm going to do my modify and select it. Got to get the depth right. And it's definitely not. Let me move that section so you can see what that's going to look like. If I take this section here, slide it to here, and reduce the depth so we're not going through to Kentucky, and look at that view. Okay, so when you come up, notice see how it's in the plywood? We don't want that, okay? That's really not a good thing. So we'll come back here, select it, and paste in our value because it's in the memory. We can just keep using it once we get it. And we'll go back and look and see, and look, just beautiful. And now we start our march here. So now we then go back to our offset. Now you can, if you want to do the math, take the span, which would be the scope here. We're going to go from one side to the other. I've got 64 foot 7.5 inches, and divide that by 16. So let me get that down here. Let's just bring up a calculator. 64. So you can see what's going on there. Might as well show you how I do it. So I'm going to take the 64 times 12, and I'm going to add the 8.5 to that. Okay, so that's our total inches. And then divide that by 16. I need 48.5 of these. So here's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this all one unit. So I'm going to go up to my array. So it's right underneath the split tool. Usually what I want to do is on these arrays is select the item first, then get the array, and tell it how many numbers you need there. And I already forgot, which is not so good that I did that. It's kind of wild. I must have clicked that off. See if my history is still there. Nope. Okay, so we've got our, I have to do that all over again. Isn't that great? Because I didn't write my number down. Usually I write them down, and I should have, and I didn't. And that is not good because memory is not always there. 60, okay, 64 foot 8, I think that's what it was. Okay, so we bring the calculator back. All right, we'll go through the math again. Just write it down. 64 times, whoops, clear that, times 12 plus 8.5. That's going to equal, and then divide that by 16. So I need 48.5. Okay, so I'm writing that down. I do my array. I select my member, right click, finish. And at this point, we're going to put in 48 because the half is not going to be that much. I'm going to start here, click, and then click where I want it to end. It's going to calculate them all for me and put them in and get those all in there. Now, the thing is, though, if I select it, it selects everything. It's all one element. And so once you've got it, it's down. And I'm seeing it's already got maybe a little bit of a hiccup. So let's go check the section because I'm afraid I may have a problem. And there they are. They just go marching off, so they're good. Okay, look like they might have been off a little bit. So if you want to use the array, that works as well, but the offset's pretty reliable. Down here, I've got a lot of little pieces. So same thing again, back to structure, beam, get my TGI, my plywood web joist, bring it down to the next bearing point. So I'll make sure I'm on the wall. Do my modify, adjust the offsets so that's in the right position. And then do offset on this case and just start working my way across. Be careful not to double them up. If you make a mistake, it'll chime at you. Go ahead and go back and erase one thing if it does chime. There is a really strong probability that it's going to chime on me before I get to my end point, because that's just what happens. I get going. All right, this one is now off the bearing wall, so that needs to be lengthened. So then modify this by taking the blue circle and stretching it down. Now I've adjusted it by stretching it, and as soon as you do that, it's going to change its angle. And so come back in and re-level it so that you have a level floor joist. You don't want to hill, but you don't want to hill that. Then I'm going to go back to offset again and start marching across the sheet. And if this takes you guys more than an hour to do, we got problems, because this should only take you about no more than 12 minutes to do a floor once you get it going. Okay, then do one more. This one's going to be too long, so I have to modify this one. Oops. And that, select, get the blue dot, shorten it up. And I made an extra. I'm just going to delete that one out because it's hard enough to keep track of where you're at without extras. Okay, now I got to check my depth. Yep, I moved it again. So Control V there, apply that. Now we march again. So back to offsets. It's about to get a little interesting because we're getting to the stairway. I can do that one there. So sit right on that wall, right above the wall. Then I'm going to got lots of little guys going on here. Okay, so we're going to do an offset of 1. This one gets shortened all the way back to the opposite side of the stair. And I'm going to go ahead and adjust my depth again. Now I need to do another one, so I'm going to do another offset down below. And they'll line up because it's the same offset. But this one gets stretched to this side. And then while I've got it, might as well, oh, I did that one good. That one didn't shift. Okay, now we're back to marches. So offsets. This one's going to go for a ways. So all the way to the stair. And again, we're trying to have our stairwell not have framing in the middle of it because it's kind of hard to go through it. And one more. And then this one goes all the way down. Now, I'm going to bring it here and just leave it hanging for a minute. And, oh, I kept that one straight too. I'm getting better at this. That's always a good thing when that happens. Okay, now, cancel that out. Let's pull that back down again. And go straight. Hopefully it will work. Yay. Onion those together. Now, here's something to keep in mind. We took these, this wall's bearing and this wall's bearing. So I've got 1, 2, 3 bearing points. And I'm only worried about that distance of 18 feet between bearing points. So obviously this is not 18, not 18. If I measure here and go all the way down, that's only 13. I'm going to take this one here, because it's supported so well, it's going to go all the way down to the outside foundation. It's a little bit different situation than the others, Again, check and make sure I didn't shift it, and I did because I moved it. Oops, messed that one up. Okay, put that in place. So we do back to an offset. It goes once, twice. Now it's too long. I gotta shorten it. So I pull the dot up again. Every time I shift off the side, I'm then pretty much guarantee that I've made it an angle. So Control V. Back to offsets. And we just work our way over. Almost done. I know it's a little tedious, not fun to watch. This one's going to start marching. 1, 2. He's off. We'll put this one down. So this is a pretty common way of that I usually do my framing. I'm sure someone's got better options out there than this, but it's worked good for me, and I can control the views well enough that, owners don't need to see what's going on behind the scenes. All right, there we go. That is the framing now for my Malo Fort. We got this little bay here. Better put that one in. So I need to go structure, beam, still the TGI. I'm going to take it going this direction to the midpoint there. Again, verify my heights, offset heights. V there, Control V here. Do a little offset work and just marching along its merry way there. And they don't have to be symmetrical. Don't worry about that. Now I want you to notice something. If you see how there's this gap here, what that's doing is implying that this is hung on the joist or on the beam, so that it's so stronger. Because I'm doing this with them kind of perpendicular, I'm going to do an offset of 2 inches and take this 4 joists and double it up so that it's a little more weight. I mean, that's not much. The engineers will say it's overkill. I'd rather be over strengthened than under strengthened. Just a personal way of not getting myself into political and financial and legal problems. But there is the floor framing for the main floor. All right, you guys, go to work and get her done.